Hi, in this video, we're going to talk about for loop with range. Instead of a list of predefined numbers, we often want a sequence of consecutive numbers. So let's say, starting at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until whatever the last number we want. Now, so we can type it all out. That's fine for a short sequence. But what if the sequence is huge? What if it's a million, a billion, or a trillion, or something even bigger, right? We cannot really type those out by hand. Now, fortunately, I think you know by now that computers are really good at repetitive tasks. Repetitive tasks that are actually has a fairly well-defined pattern, right? This is just a sequence of consecutive numbers. So in order to do that, we can actually use a little built-in function called the range. Okay, so let me demonstrate that. So instead of numbers, that I can do numbers equals to list range. Let's say I want a number up to, let's start small. Let's not get too ambitious. Okay, so there, once I run it, the numbers generated are from 0 through 9. Okay, so a couple of things to know here, right? The range, the first number, it starts at 0, just like the index for list. As I said before, many things in computer science starts, or programming languages, it starts at 0. So the very first number a range gives is 0. And this is how many number we want. So 10 numbers. Well, if you start at 0 and you only want 10 numbers, the last number you're going to get is 9, which is one less than the number of integer that we want here. That's the value. So the value of the number is between 0 and 9 inclusive. But this is basically the total number of integers we want range to return to us. And that's basically what this says here. Starting index or starting number starts at 0. The end index is, or the ending number is most of the time it's exclusive, so it goes up to it goes up to it goes up to 9, one less than the ending number we specify here. Okay, and for reasons that I'm not quite ready to get into right now, range by itself actually does not give you a list. Okay, in order to create a list, we have to enclose the range call in a list call. That really creates a list. So to see that, if I just print out numbers, that gives you a list. If you actually remove this keyword, it doesn't give you a list. It gives you, helpfully, a range. Anyway, so that's what that is. Now we can yeah, that's what we want to say about range. And doing getting a sequence of numbers, consecutive numbers, is actually a very common thing that we do in programming language. You will do that many times, I'm sure. So oftentimes we really don't have to create lists and assign it to a variable. So we would put this thing directly in the for loop itself, which it's the same thing as what we did before. Okay, so we still get 0 through 9. And then as a matter of fact, if you are using the range in a for loop, you don't need to create an entire list. We can just say that for number in range from 0 to 10, and that works. And the difference between this and list, this, it's a very subtle one, but for those of you who are curious, doing this will pre-create the entire list. Well, not pre-create, it will create an entire list. And then, so that takes up a lot of memory. But if you don't do this, it would just give you the next number when you ask for it. So that's a lot more memory efficient. But again, this is not something that you're required to know now. It's sufficient to know that this is how you get a sequence of numbers in Python by using for number in some range. Okay, so I think I've talked enough, and let's I'll give you a little exercise to work on. You notice that I'm using an icon here. This is your coding, this is your cue to coding exercise. And what I want you to do is that using a loop, using a for loop, try to print a sequence of numbers, even numbers, up to and including 1,000. Okay, even numbers up to and including 1,000. So pause the video, go ahead and give this a try in your Python IDE. Okay, so hopefully you've done that little exercise, and then let me just quickly show the code here. Well, actually I can do it here. So for number in range, right? Let's say I'll just do it instead of up to 1,000. I'll do it up to 10. Okay, so, and we only want to print the even number, which means we have to test to make sure the number is even, right? And the way to test an even number is we take the remainder or modulo and we make sure that is 0. So that would be an even number. And there we have 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. What happened to our 10? Hopefully you didn't make the same mistake I did, but in order to print a number up to and including 10 or 1,000, I have to say 11, not 10, right? Because again, the ending number is exclusive. It will not include 11, it will include the number 1 less than 11. So if I run this, I get the last number 10. Okay, and it's trivial to change this to 1,001, and then hopefully, yes, it gives me 1,000, and we start. So make sure we start at the right number. We start at 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8, and so on. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. So that's that. So how about another exercise? Something very similar. Printing all the odd numbers up to and including 1,000. Can you do that? Okay. I assume that you've done that, or you just can. This is so simple. I'm not going to even try. So this is what you have to do. That's all the odd numbers. Right? Now, the reason I asked you to do that, even though it seems a little trivial, is there actually is a different way to do this. And we don't even have to use the if. The way to do it is that when you think about a sequence of odd number, well, the first positive odd number starts at 1, right? and then it's adding 2 to it, so it's 3, and then add 2 to it, that's 5, 7, and so on, right? So there's a skip. You start at 1 and skip 2 every time. So the range function actually allow you to start at 1. Okay, let me remove that. So here, I just added another argument to the range function call. Okay, and if I add a number, the first number is the number where it starts at. The second number is the same, the number that it ends at, exclusive. Okay, so I'm going to change this back to 11 so that we can see everything. So now, as you see, instead of starting at 0, like before, we're starting at 1 and goes all the way up to 10. Okay, now that's still not all the odd numbers. For the odd number starts at 1 and we skip 2 every time. So there is a third argument you can give the range, and that is the step. So this step, when you use it, excuse me, so we start at 1, and every time we don't skip just 1, we skip 2. So the next number is 3, 5, 7, 9. Okay, so beginning number, ending number, exclusive, and step. Okay, hopefully that makes sense, and it gets even more fun than that. So far you've seen this sequence of number, they are increasing. Well, range allow you to go the other way around, decreasing. Okay, if your starting number is larger than the ending number and your step is negative. So let's try that. So there, we start at 3, and then we actually, instead of incrementing by 1 every time, we go down. We decrement by 1 every time. So 3, 2, 1, 0, negative 1, negative 2, and notice that it ends at negative 2. Right? The ending number, even when it's negative, is still is still exclusive, so it'll never include this ending number. You can play around with it. I mean, trying to do something that doesn't make sense, like, okay, what if I actually do a positive step here? I'll try that, see what happens. Okay, so here's a summary. Excuse me, I'm going to drink some water. For range, then basically we learn 3 forms of range. With 1 number, 2 numbers, and 3 numbers. And then in each of these cases, what is the starting number, what is the ending number, what is the step, and what is the sequence that it generates. So with just 1 number, that number is the ending number, okay? The starting number is defaulted 0 if you don't specify that. The step is 1 by default. So the sequence that range 11 generates, it starts at 0, 1, 2, 3, goes all the way up to 10, not including the end. Okay. If you give it 2 numbers, the first number is the starting number, the second number is the ending number. The step defaults to 1. So range 1, 11, we start at 1, go all the way up to 10. If you give it 3 numbers, the first number, so you basically specify the starting, the end, and the step. And this is the sequence that you'll get for range.